The Guardians are headed out west to Sacramento for a first-place showdown. Bet you didn't expect that between the A's and the Guardians. But first, who in the heck is joining the team out west?
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Guardians, where the roster spots are made up and the size doesn't matter. I don't know. For the Guardians roster at this point, it doesn't really matter.
That's not what
Guardians.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, covering your team every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between. We'll hit on all those points in today's episode. That is Jeff Ellis, your host for the show for the last 8 years. I am Justin Lada. For the last 4 years, I've joined my friend and coach, Jeff Ellis. We both broke into minor league coverage in the draft way back in 2007 when the roster rules literally were made up and anything was possible. Jeff, on the show today, we're going to look back over the offseason very quickly and talk about a lot of players that we might have pitched the Guardians to acquire over the offseason. And we'll see 1 month into the season how right or wrong we were about those players. And it is Friday, so we'll get into off day around the farm Friday in the system. We'll get into some draft talk. I know Jeff's been talking about some Guardians type prospects in the draft, so we'll get into those as well. But first, Jeff, got to figure out who the heck is probably already in Sacramento joining the team. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, bet just $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, head to FanDuel.com to get started. I love trying to play this game with the Guardians whenever there's a move to be made. We always like to try to predict who it's going to be, looking for clues, checking Twitter. A minor league move does not warrant, checking the publicly available flight logs like LeBron and Dan Gilbert. But everybody is trying to figure out based on who played tonight and who's in a lineup, who's not. Let's
just be honest. It's weird. For those who are not keeping up with it, George Valera got sent down. Not a surprise because he has struggled. A year ago when he was great, he misses in the zone. He's always missing the zone, but he wasn't chasing. Right now he's chasing and missing in the zone. He needs regular reps due to how good Martinez has been, how good Schneeman's been. He wasn't going to get them. So they sent him down, but they didn't announce who's coming up, which normally points to someone who isn't on the 40-man. So I think Justin and I were both like, oh, okay, so Stuart Fairchild, maybe he has a May opt-out, and this is a way to take care of it. But then he played tonight, which you wouldn't expect to happen for a guy who's going to go. People
cross country.
People brought up, oh, maybe they're gonna. Sorry, that got loud there. Maybe they'll bring up another reliever. For those who do not know, you can only have 13 pitchers on a team. When they expanded to 26 players, they set a limit on pitchers. You can only have 13. Cleveland's already got 13. They can't add another one. That's the rule now. So it's not a pitcher. It's got to be a hitter. So it leaves us with, and then other people asked about trades. I dug deep on trades. I spent like 40 minutes. Essentially, this team has not done a non-waiver trade since the 70s or the 60s. It just doesn't happen. So it seems to come down to on roster, Capus and Halpin, and, Randall Gierchuk was cut, but that would still be an awkward fit for this team potentially. Especially because if they took him, I believe they'd have to take on his $2.5 million salary, which I don't know if they'd be jumping to do.
Well, no, because if you cleared waivers, you could sign the league minimum for veterans. The Yankees are on the hook for the difference of that. So you could do that, or a minor league deal even. But yeah, the whole point of this is the Guardians right now, we've been talking about this for a couple of days now. The Guardians 40-man roster is in a weird spot. They don't have what we like to call roster fodder, where you don't have guys in the 40 that you can easily say goodbye to without, caring or understanding if they're going to be claimed, because, it could it be Petey Halpin? Maybe, he didn't play on Thursday in Columbus. And I guarantee whoever it is, the team's in Sacramento already. So whoever is joining the team is in Sacramento, as we speak. So if it's Petey Halpin, then, they don't have to make a move. He's on the 40. If it's not anybody who would have been in the lineup in Columbus on Thursday night, I have a hard time. I don't think would have been.
I had someone DM me and say Halpin wasn't there, for what it's worth, but I don't know how much I trust that source. But
yeah. I mean, that's something that makes sense. CJ Capus didn't play either, but they also have Watson, Jones, Fairchild, and Halpin and Kafis, who can play the outfield, and Diane Frias played left field. I will say that's the thing that makes it interesting too, is because Diane Frias has not been an outfielder for most of his minor league career. I'm gonna look and see how many games he's played in the outfield before. 2019, he played in the outfield in the Dominican Summer League. He's played left field 3 times this year, so I guess he has played the outfield with all that group down there before. But yeah, normally if you were going to bring somebody up that was on the 40-man roster, you just announce the move. So that is the weird thing here, is that they didn't announce the corresponding move directly. Maybe they were still talking through who was the best fit, but also because you're flying cross country, you'll probably want to have the decision made pretty quickly, which is why you need to get that player on a flight out there so they can join the team and get used to the time difference. So that's why I'm like, it can't be Fairchild because he played. That would be really poor logistics on Cleveland's part, and that's not how they play the game. And or it could be Kafis, but I don't see why you would bring back Kafis. I mean, I know Valera replaced Kafis, so I guess it could be Kafis, but like, doesn't he need to play too? I mean,
but like they thought Valera would play more when they promoted him, but Martinez and Schneemann have been so good that it's just been they need a guy. Yeah, I mean, we talked about we talked about Fairchild before, just because I think he also gives them a right-handed bat, but Halpin does that same thing. They need kind of a speed defense guy late more than they need
which is why Fairchild would have made sense, because Fairchild could have rode the bench for as long as it didn't matter. Play defense, can make contact and run, be a pinch runner, and he's right-handed. Not that matters that much because they're not getting a whole lot out of it, but I wonder if they wanted to bring up Fairchild and they just didn't have a 40-man move. Like maybe it still will be him. I don't know. Like that would just seem very odd if it was him, but like you'd be talking, like I said, if you're gonna bring up Fairchild, then you might as well DFA Petey Halpin, because you're bypassing Petey Halpin anyway. Yeah. The only other option would be Cody Hoyer, who pitched tonight in Columbus, to DFA him, but that leaves you with just Franco Alamon as your only like up and down relief option until Walters is ready, which Walters will be. Walters has options, so he could go to AAA too if they're not ready to bring him up. It's not he doesn't have options, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess if you activate Walters, you could DFA Cody Hoyer, and Walters is your second guy. So I guess that gives you a little bit of leeway to DFA Cody Hoyer. But again, there's nobody else down there that's off the 40, Jeff, that would make sense outside of out of Fairchild, unless you're bringing back Nolan Jones, who did play on Thursday night. So I don't think it's him either. Yeah. The only logical choice right now is Petey Halpin or CJ Kafis, but Halpin's a better fit at what they're looking for.
Yeah, unless it's external. Unless it's, like I said, maybe there is a world where it's Gerchek in a very specific role, because his, it's limited.
Weird.
I mean, it does, but it also seems weird if you're going to call up Halpin. Why not just say you're calling up Halpin? Like, there's
right.
The other side of it too is on top of like it feels like Halpin and Hewer are kind of those last two spots. Even though there's a chance that the next guy who will fall off the roster is Fester or Brogdon when Walters is ready, because they'll have to add one of those players, and then both of them would have to clear waivers.
Walters is already on the 40,
no, but when you promote him, one of those guys has to come off, and they don't have any options left. So then
you could leave Walters in AAA for now as depth when he's off the injured list. Like you could. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but eventually he's going to be up, and that's going to happen. The only other thing outside of really, because Halpin, he's been playing better of late, but he's still a below league average bat in AAA, in a stadium that is a haven for hitters against weak pitching, where Nolan Jones is feasted. A lot of people. There are comments where people saying they hoped it was a catcher, but we're just going to reiterate: Cooper Engels hurt people as much as
And I don't know how you're
a thirst for that, but either. Yeah. So when you look at this outside of those two, it's like unless you're going to move Gabby Arias to the 60, if you moved into the 60, then he couldn't come off till June 6th.
I don't think it'd be that long.
No, it would be. I did the math. It's literally he was put on the disabled list on the 7th, so 60 days.
I'm saying I don't think he'd actually be out that long. Like, I don't think you need to.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes it a little bit weird. They showed in Monday's game, I believe, him doing some grounding drills. They said he's still a few weeks out, but like they showed him out there taking balls. So, but I had people, Andrew Kinsman is a great source, and he goes, don't discount Arias. So if Kinsman tells me something, I'm gonna trust him.
Yeah, I mean, well, would they act? That's the other thing too. It's like if Arias was ready, that would be weird.
No, he'd have to go to AAA. I don't think it's.
Yeah, you would need a rehab stint. For
I think it's more likely he's going to the 60-day than he's going to the active roster.
Yeah, I can't believe it would be Arias though, because he's not that far away. Like, unless he's on the. If he's taking ground balls, I would think like he's. I don't know, unless you consider like, okay, he's still a few weeks away. Then you put him in a rehab assignment. I guess that could take you to June, but I don't know. Very, very strange. I guess that's the only other move that kind of explains things. But again, the only guy that would be worth calling up right now who's off the 40 is Stuart Fairchild. I don't think you're going down the Nolan Jones path again. And Fairchild was in Columbus on Thursday, so that logistically doesn't make sense. So I don't know. Put together your best contact clues and check flight logs, see what happens. We don't know what it is, and I'm guessing Halpin because it's the only thing that I can really come up with at this point. But let us know in the comments who you think it's going to be, and let us know if you got any flight trackers on your phone that from Columbus to Sacramento. So we'll talk about a little bit more of the farm system, not just the guys we think might get called up. Jeff's got some draft names for you to pay attention to for the Guardians, and we also got to talk about some players that Jeff and I wanted to acquire this offseason, and we're going to talk about whether or not those would have been good acquisitions in the month of April for the Guardians. That's coming up on the rest of this episode of Locked On Guardians. The NBA playoffs, they are here, and the Cavs, they are holding on for dear life in the first round. Every possession matters as long as you don't turn the ball over. And you're looking to get closer to the action. FanDuel has a great offer for you to get started. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5, and that'll get you $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. You could turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started on FanDuel. The Cavs, I think last I checked, were favored by 3.5 in Game 6 in Toronto. I wouldn't play with fire like that if I were you. But the Guardians, they are favored by 1.5 runs in Sacramento. Joey Cantillo and JT Ginn is the first matchup, and I think the over-under was 9 or 9.5 runs. And I'm like, you know what? Joey Cantillo's pitched pretty well. I know the ball flies in Sacramento. Oakland's got a decent offense. JT Ginn has not been good. I just don't see an over-under of 9.5 runs for those two teams right now. So I could take the Guardians. I think Cantillo is definitely better than JT Ginn, but I just don't know if we're going to see 9 runs in that game. But you can head over to FanDuel to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And of course, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on Locked On Guardians. As always, great time to check out the Everydayer Club, so you can chat with Jeff and I in a private Discord server, as well as other listeners of the show who are in there. Plus, you get ad-free episodes of the audio version of the show wherever you get podcasts. And there's a Discord channel for every single team you're a fan of, whether it's Browns, Cavs, Guardians. If you want to check out the other AL Central teams as well, we just did an AL Central squad show with the other 4 guys in the Central. You can go in there and talk a little trash with their fans too, because everybody thinks they're in it in the AL Central right now, which honestly everybody is. So check that out right now.
Can I throw one other thing before we move on? If you want to really be negative about this, the whole thing is maybe they sent down Valera and then didn't announce a new addition because that is for whatever player they call up. It's one less day on the active roster.
What would that matter to be? Like, I don't understand.
It's a later start date, right? It's just a longer time of control. You get to have one more day.
One day.
One day.
Right, but right. Who is that important enough that it would be?
No one. But at the same time, I'm just.
I don't know who it could be.
Yeah.
Like I can't look at the roster and be like, yeah, that makes sense. They want to be careful of this guy's service time. There's nobody in Columbus where I'm like, yeah, you got to worry about this guy's service time. So that just I'm my mind is boggled. Let's talk about other guys that are down in the minors. Justin Campbell, another terrific start for him last week, or I should say earlier in the week. 3 more innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 hit, no walks. He now has 18 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 13 1/3 innings pitched. He says that pretty soon the Guardians are going to let him increase his pitch count, get above 3 innings here soon, or at least hopefully get into the 5th inning. He's only gotten into the he's never gotten past the 3rd inning so far, so maybe the 4th inning is the next step here. But boy, things are going pretty well. I can't imagine that he's not going to be in Akron sometime soon. The way he's pitching, like that line just suggests that nobody in High A is good enough to hit him. And High A is not exactly the best level anymore. Just things have been watered down so much, but I just can't imagine he's going to be in Lake County much longer. Like, I guess you wait until he can increase his pitch count. There's really no room for him in Double-A. Like, there's Cal Steven, there's Tugboat, Caden Favors, Hartle, and DeLucia. I guess you could piggyback Campbell if he's only going to go 4 innings, but none of the guys in Double-A, there's not 6 starters and nobody's being piggybacked. So it's interesting that the Guardians for a while in Low A and High A would do a 6-man rotation because there's 6 games a week with an off day being Monday. Pretty much now they're all on 5-day rotations. I wonder if they changed their mind on how they like that, or maybe it's just a lack of healthy arms. I don't know, but there's no room in Double-A for Campbell right now, but I would like to see at some point Cal Steven and Josh Hartle get to Triple-A. But then again, in Triple-A, you've got, Logan Allen, Peterson just came back, and they're still throwing Trenton Denholm and Ryan Webb and Pedro.
Yeah, Triple-A feels kind of weak to me, if I got to be honest. Like,
it's not great.
I mean, even someone like Dylan DeLucia has been up and down with Akron, but he's a guy who needs to push up at some point as well too. Like, there's a lot of options to go with. I think they probably give Campbell more time just because he's had such limited innings and they want him to keep having success.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Cal Steven has been really struggling with walks this year. He only walked 1 in his last start, but he's got 2 starts here where he's walked 5 and 4. Could be better. So I don't know how soon he's going to get to Triple-A the way that's going. I want to point out Tanner Burns real quick. Not a guy we've talked a lot about the last several years because he's fallen off the map. But if you go look at the underlying data on either TJ Stats or Prospect Savant, he's throwing a splitter now. His fastball has got some good ride to it. He's a mid-90s guy. He's not getting a lot of chases, but the Stuff Plus metrics are really grading out well for him. He's getting whiffs, even though guys aren't chasing. He's getting whiffs. It's really weird. It's a really weird profile right now, but he's actually looks better. Maybe he's not coming on the 40. I was gonna say they can't bring up a pitcher, but this is the best he's looked probably since he was in Lake County in 2021, and he's a reliever now. And I'm not saying he's back on track to what he was before, but I think at least he's reached the point where he could be like a viable, like up and down depth reliever, which is better than where he was the last several years.
I think that splitter has changed the outlook there. That is definitely a pitch that's helped to elevate his profile, and good for him. That 2020 draft is not looking good for this team in general, but it's not looking good for a lot of teams. It was a very hard year to draft, and Burns has had his ups and downs. But I agree. He's gone from a guy that I really wasn't paying attention to. So just to give you some behind the scenes looks at the show, Justin texted me to check out Tanner Burns. And with the way things have gone, I went looking for a profile where I'm like, oh, something must be horrific because things haven't gone well for Tanner Burns. And my mindset is, if things haven't gone well, I'm looking for something. And I look at it and I text back Justin. I'm like, I'm confused. It looks pretty solid. And you're like, no, that's the point. It is. It's a solid profile.
Because it hasn't been solid.
No. So he's put himself back in play. You need some pitcher depth. You need some guys who you can, like what Kobe Allard's done, right? Where you can call him up and you're okay risking it.
He could be future roster fodder. Yeah.
Yeah.
He could be on the 40. Like that's a big deal for Tanner Burns, considering where he's been. If he can get himself on the 40 somehow and be a depth option, that's a big jump for him from how the last few years have gone.
Nope. Agreed. Don't have too much to add there. That's talk about our targets, right? Before we run out of time, or are we gonna?
Well, let's see. I know you got a couple draft guys you want to get to. We can chuck in a few of those, and then we'll talk about some of the offseason targets that we went over so often. We pitched so many players this offseason to acquire. We were just hoping for anybody. So we'll talk about whether or not those would have been good moves at least 1 month into the season. So that's all next. The month of May is here and baseball is in full swing. So, you got those, it's no longer a fresh start, but we still have expectations, even in the AL Central where everybody is mediocre or worse. But you want to go watch those breakout rookies, Chase Slaughter and Travis Bazzana. And you want to watch these division races come down to the wire, which probably will till Labor Day. Sometimes, though, getting tickets, that's not fun because you get surprise fees and you're dealing with the weather. You don't want to, commit to anything. That is why Game Time is the app that gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experience with just a few taps. With the Game Time guarantee, you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And the price you see is the price you pay. So there's no surprise fees at checkout. My wife just got Benson Boone tickets through Game Time using our code. I know those were hot tickets to get. And, the weather is still kind of unpredictable in Cleveland. So if you're maybe wanting to go to a Guardians game and you're not wanting to commit to tickets up front, maybe you want to see if you can get a really good deal at the last minute based on the weather and prices. Game Time is a great place to check out for that. We do it for sporting events, concerts, as you can see. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKDOWN for $20 off your very first purchase. Terms apply, but create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Always appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Guardians part of your daily routine, your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get your podcast, literally everywhere. So hit the bell on YouTube. Make sure you're getting the video sent to your phone because that will get you alerted when we do reaction videos to games or news, like whoever's going to take George Valera's place on the roster. We'll have a video about that whenever the move is finally announced. And when the shows go live, plus we've got the Locked On MLB AL Central Squad show coming your way today as well. So you get notified of when that goes live and auto download on all your audio platforms. So you can get those episodes in your feed as well. All right, Jeff, who are some Guardians targets that you are paying attention to when it comes to the draft right now?
A guy I keep circling back to is Wes Mendez, who's a left-handed pitcher out of Florida State. Started his career at Ole Miss. 6'1", lefty, good change, 5 different pitches, low 90s velocity. A guy who's shown some emotions on the mound. That doesn't sound like anyone familiar to anyone in this organization at all.
Doug Crazy, man. Doug Crazy.
Well, even Parker Messick from Florida State as well. There's a lot of things that go there where you can see ways to potentially get him stronger and add more. But yeah, Wes Mendez is one of those guys that I was looking at names, looking at performance that stood out. I brought up Aiden Robbins before. The fact he's right-handed probably eliminates him. But if you're going further down, like Logan Hughes out of Texas Tech, played well in the Cape. He did a lot of other things really well. He's kind of this year's Devin Taylor, which means, of course, they won't take him. Another guy kind of in that range is Ty Head, who's a big, fast kid who's added some power at NC State this year. He's still not great power, but he's a legit center fielder, runs really well. A lot of people think even more power could come. And they've drafted a lot of guys from like the North Carolina area. The scouts in there definitely have some say. And, I want to take a moment. I don't think he is not a Guardians target, but credit to Sean Sullivan, who's a kid from Walsh Jesuit who just made MLB's new top 150 draft prospects. Sullivan is a 6-foot righty with a quick arm, but he turns 19 in May, which is very old for the class. So that's really not Cleveland's bread and butter. He looks kind of more like a reliever in the little bit that I had seen of him in clips before. But he's an interesting kid. Wish him the best. Always exciting. I always like to see those Ohio kids on the list. And if I was going to, go a little bit deeper down the list, you also want to look for the guys who maybe have struggled this year or have seen their stock go up and down. So I'm going to bring up old friend alert, Ryan Marone. Ryan Marone started this year on fire. He was a guy who I'm pretty sure they intended to sign when they took him in the 20th round of 2023, aka that is the Alex Mooney wanted more money draft, so they lost Mac Ewer and Ryan Marone, if you believe the rumors. Again, not substantiated, allegedly. But here's a lefty at NC State. He's had 2 minor arm injuries this year, and then his command has not looked as good. There's some herky-jerky, some crossfire. There's little things there. There's a lot to be cleaned up. And NC State isn't exactly a pitcher haven. But with Marone sliding down boards, there's a lot of the stuff that they liked is still there. And he is a player that I think could very much be like a day 2 guy for them. And it's, we know this team. They look sometimes more at sophomore years than junior years. Talked about a year ago, Brady Ballinger was great last year. He's terrible this year. If they don't get Miles Bailey, who I think could be another FSU target of theirs, they might go for another first baseman. They like drafting 1 or 2 first basemen a year. So there's, those are just some names that pops up. I'll have so many more, but I'll give one more from my neck of the woods, another first baseman, Dominic Santorelli, big time power, some of the best high school power in the entire class. He's a first baseman, maybe could play outfield, but more than likely first base. Has some in-zone swing and miss, but might have the best raw power of any high school kid. I know some people have here in the MLB profile with him. I was kind of curious what they'd have to say because they like to get hyperbolic, and they're like, he has the ceiling of a more athletic version of Kyle Schwarber, but then they have him ranked 131, which doesn't quite match up. But I mean, he's a fairly athletic kid for a first baseman. But the reason he gets that Schwarber comp, and he's an LSU kid, so he's probably hard to get, is he might have the best raw power in this high school class.
Nice. He's from your neck of the woods right now?
Yeah, he's up at St. Joseph's in Wisconsin here.
Okay. All right. We love the cold weather bats, when you get those.
And he's left-handed with that power, too. So just a...
Oh, well.
And they draft first baseman. We've had... How many first basemen have they drafted? It just... They've been leaning into that position.
It is a little bit weird.
And I got to throw one more thing. Jack Slightum. I don't know anything about him, but go check him out on the MLB list because his picture makes him look like he's 12 and a half. So that's kind of comical.
Nice. So he's young for the class, no matter what his age is. He's
very young for the class. He's committed to Cincinnati.
Okay. Well, hey, they're in the Big 12 now, right?
Yeah. So that's it's like I said, anything I do would just be reading a scouting report that I haven't prepared. I just like to look at the numbers and see where guys are ranked here. But I saw his picture. I'm like, who's this 12-year-old who's ranked? So I was just kind of curious about that. But yeah, that's my primary reason to go look at these lists. Is I think it's interesting to see where guys are ranked. Like you and I've been texting you a lot about like, why is Logan Hughes this way so on like this board? Why is he so low on this board? I'm a big Hughes guy, just like I was a big Devin Taylor guy, and we'll see whether or not I end up right or wrong. I don't think he's a Guardians type, though, based on what we've seen the past few years.
Probably not. Apparently, Rob Refsnyder was not a Guardians type, and I know I was frustrated when the Guardians didn't sign him this offseason when it happened. Great sign, not signing for the Guardians. 42 plate appearances. He's got a 5.11 OPS. Looking at the Savant data, he's not chasing out of the zone, which is great. They like that, but he's literally doing nothing else well. So he doesn't strike out. So Rob Refsnyder looks like
maybe benefited from being in Boston.
That's possible, and I'm sure he's benefiting by not being there now because, the Mariners don't have the clubhouse chaos that the Red Sox do, but the Mariners aren't doing that great. Brendan Donovan, I think he is on the injured list.
I think he's still hurt.
He should be activated here soon, it says, but off to a great start, 177 WRC plus, and he's the better version of Daniel Schneemann. Daniel Schneemann has been great, but they are similar players. Actually, Daniel Schneemann's hitting the ball harder this year.
Yeah, as I say, Schneemann's more of like what Brendan Donovan is the better version of Quan. He is that Quan profile. He falls into that Quan, Alex Call,
because he doesn't hit the ball hard. But he doesn't chase. He is drawing walks.
Yeah, that's why he's in that grouping. He's more of that third band of like he walks, he doesn't chase, he doesn't whiff, he doesn't K, and he has not the sweet spot. He does the squared up.
Yes, he does. No, it is the sweet launch angle sweet spot. Yeah. He doesn't hit the ball hard, and he actually has some of the lowest exit velocities in all of baseball right now. So Schneemann's going to keep more power than Donovan. Donovan got off to a good start. I know he hit a home run against Cleveland. So
Donovan is like peak Quan.
Yeah. The guy that we both talked about wanting to get was Jesus Sanchez, and he's off to a really good start in Toronto. He's got a 105 WRC plus,
just a
4 home runs.
Typical Jesus Sanchez, right around league average, a little bit better. Probably has fantastic platoon splits because he is 100% a platoon player.
782 against righties, 573 against lefties. Only got 11 plate appearances, but you know what? He'd be a better fit on this roster than George Valera right now, and he's that's the guy I would take over that.
My two big targets, Rami Gonzalez is just on the 60-day disabled list to start the year, so we can just move on from that. And then, he wasn't traded, but Alex Call is that player I want. He's only had 37 plate appearances. He's got a 150 WRC plus in those. He is excelling in that role for the Dodgers. He has played left, right, and center as basically a platoon player, and he's continued to do exactly what, all the reasons I wanted him here he's also in that band with Donovan and Kwan in terms of he walks, he doesn't chase, he doesn't K, he does the right things. It's kind of that third grouping of players. But yeah, at points I kind of like Seiya Suzuki and Tyler Soderstrom, but those two guys were never in play. Taylor Ward was a guy I was hoping they'd get into, and that deal went fast. And I think it has not so far worked out for Anaheim because isn't Rodriguez hurt again already?
Yes. Yeah, he's on the injured list. Ward's been good for Baltimore. I think he has one home run, but he's hit the ball really well for them. So it's been a good
153 WRC plus. He's got 313 batting average with 370 BABIP. But he's got
healthy, which is
he's 455 slug, 426 on base. He's doing a lot of little things. He would look great. Loved it. And we know Cleveland tried to acquire him. They legit made a run on him, but Grayson Rodriguez was who Anaheim liked, and Anaheim always finds a way to lose trades. So
they sure do. You and I both at the end of the spring training were talking about Eugenio Suarez too. Remember we said, he'd be a great fit at first, and he could play third when Jose DHs, and he could DH himself. Well, he's on the injured list with an oblique issue, and he's got a 82 WRC plus. Yeah. It's been Father Time might be catching up to him.
Yeah,
nothing good going on there. Also want to point out a lot of people this offseason were like, sign Adolis Garcia. No, don't sign it. He's got a 94 WRC plus, which it's fine. It's not bad. It's not great. But it's not been a good season for him overall. He still doesn't look anything close to the guy that most people thought about when it was a 2023 World Series. Hits the ball hard. That's great. He chases a lot. And I think his launch angle his launch angle is up this year. So, he's still a solid player, but not, I think the Phillies are paying him $10 million. No, thank you. I'm not paying this organization. I'm not paying $10 million for a guy who's below league average.
And we have to bring up the guy who, thanks to media and then some other places, people talked about a ton, which is Pete Alonso. Got a lot of talk this offseason. He was never a real target. Pete Alonso currently has in the second half of last year, I'll point out, he had a lower runs created plus than Josh Bell. He still has a lower runs created plus this year than Josh Bell. He is hitting below
OPS.
Yeah, he's got an 890 WRC plus. He's hitting 198, sub 300 on base, sub 360 slug. He has good exit velocity. He has good hard hit. He isn't he's gonna inch upwards, but he's not. When you look at even a year ago, the interesting thing is he's not hitting the ball in the right part of it. He's always been kind of a bat speed barrel and hard hit, and this year he's just not getting the barrels at all, and he's not hitting the launch angle sweet spot, so his swing is just off. He's trying to chase less, he's trying to walk more, and the swing changes have affected him to not be as strong. And the other guy who came up in some talk this offseason, JT Realmuto, is currently hurt. So if the Cleveland I almost said the old team, it's Cleveland Guardians had signed Alonso and Realmuto, it would be a disaster right now.
Would Realmuto be as bad as Bo Naylor? I know
he's hurt. You wouldn't have access,
but he's got 99 WRC plus, so I'd still take that. I know he's hurt, but
who knows when he'll be back at his age.
He's also making $15 million a year, which is absurd for Cleveland, or even his at 35 as a catcher.
But that's the thing. There's no supply and demand. There is no supply when it comes to catchers. So the fact he had a night, that's the thing. I thought he'd get somewhere between 12 to 15 million. He got the high end of it, but there's just
not 2 years, 10 million. Shocking.
Yeah. But
a lot of people wanted Harrison Bader. A lot of people wanted Harrison Bader. He's got a negative 10 WRC plus. He's also been hurt too with the hamstring issue. Nick Castellanos became a free agent after the Phillies couldn't trade him. He's got a 34 WRC plus, so not looking good for him over there either.
I couldn't believe anyone wanted him. Austin Hayes,
desperate.
Who everyone got mad.
Hurt. Yeah, he was hurt. He just going with the IL.
Austin Hayes, 231 batting average, 250 on base, 333 slug for 51 WRC plus, negative defensive and offensive value in the early going. Did you want to block Chase DeLauder for that? Because essentially it was going to have to be block DeLauder to sign Austin Hayes. So Yeah. That didn't work.
Ironically, the guy that would have helped would have been Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas. I was gonna say the same thing. Yep. Lane
107
Thomas.
WRC plus. He got to a really bad start, but he's been better lately. That would have been the guy to, and by all accounts, they wanted to bring him back, and he thought he was going to play more in Kansas City. Guess what? He has not played more in Kansas City.
He's playing more of late because he's playing well. He's up to a 107 WRC plus, as you said. He's doing the right thing.
His outfield is actually not bad this year.
No.
Kyle Isbell's playing well. Caglione's league average, whatever it's worth, and then Lane Thomas, he's crushing lefties, by the way, 150 WRC plus against lefties. So,
which is what he used to do historically for his career. He was, Bryce Harper versus lefties and below average against righties. But that's a weird team in Kansas City because, Carter Jensen, fantastic. Isabel is playing with his hair on fire. And it's going to be interesting to see how that team responds.
Yep, Cleveland will see Kansas City on the way back to Cleveland after this weekend series against Sacramento. Let us know if you're staying up for the game on Friday. I believe it's a 9-something start, and then it's afternoon start Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back in your feeds on Monday to wrap up what we hope is a series win out west.
Yep. Got to take care of those Angels. Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians, go.